When you're busy, you're upset, you're stressed, there's worry, there's fear, anxiety. You can just spend a few minutes and just do just very simple movements. Or this one, very simple. And of course you can do the hand movements, like sitting Qigong. This brings you to the present moment. So you can let go of thinking, because you find more and more it is thinking that is creating the dukkha. Negative thinking, reactive thinking. Judging, comparing, criticizing, condemning, liking, not liking, wanting, not wanting, aversion, ill will, envy, jealousy. It's all thinking, all mental reaction. Now let us do just one or two mindful chanting. And we start with the Om chanting, very popular chant from India. And Om is a symbol of the universe, or cosmic energy. And it's very focusing, and it's also very energizing. Yeah, and this also helps when your mind is just too scattered. And I'll just demonstrate. It's a short O sound and a longer M sound, like So I'll just demonstrate. Om. So breathe in. And relax. And just be aware of the energy in the mind from the vibration. Perhaps you notice that when we're doing the vibration, there are no thoughts. There are no thoughts arising in the mind when you are doing the vibration. This is why I said when your mind is a bit scattered, feeling a bit confused, the sound vibration also helps, because it's very focusing. You focus on the vibration, so there are no thoughts. And the next chant we'll do, some of you already know it, is the mantra from the Heart Sutra. And the Heart Sutra is very profound teaching, based on the teaching of anatta, non-self, and emptiness. And it goes gatte, gatte, parasam gatte, bodhisvaha. And the meaning is going beyond, going well beyond the world of ignorance and delusion, craving and clinging, aversion and ill will. Going beyond the illusion of duality and separation. And bodhisvaha means rejoice in the freedom, bliss, and peace of awakening. Rejoice in the freedom, bliss, and peace of awakening. So we just chant this mindfully. And again, this is very good if you're having any disturbing thoughts, causing fear, anxiety, worry, any type of negativity. Gatte, gatte, parasam gatte, bodhisvaha. Gatte, gatte, parasam gatte, bodhisvaha. Gate gate para gate parasam gate 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 bodhisva. 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 I'll just do a short reading. This is called Stillness Speaks. Stillness Speaks by Eckhart Tolle. When you lose touch with inner stillness, you lose touch with yourself. When you lose touch with yourself, you lose yourself in the world. The world of craving and aversion, confusion, worry, and delusion. Your innermost sense of self, of who you are, is inseparable from stillness. When you lose touch with yourself, you lose yourself in the world of craving and aversion, confusion, worry, and delusion. Your innermost sense of self, of who you are, is inseparable from stillness. This is a state of being that is deeper than thinking and form. Stillness, silence, is your essential nature. What is stillness? The inner space and awareness in which these words are being heard, are being perceived. Without that awareness, there would be no perception, no thoughts, no world. You are that awareness, disguised as a person in this physical form. You are that awareness, disguised as a person in this physical form. The equivalent of external noise is the inner noise of thinking. The equivalent of external silence is inner stillness. The equivalent of external noise is the inner noise of thinking. The equivalent of external silence is inner stillness. Whenever there's silence around you, listen to it. That means just notice it. Pay attention to it. Listening to silence awakens the dimension of stillness within you, because it is only through stillness that you can be aware of silence. You see that in the moment of noticing the silence around you, you are not thinking. You're aware but not thinking. When you become aware of silence, immediately there's a state of inner alertness. You are present. You have stepped out of thousands of years of collective human conditioning. You have stepped out of the fast-moving human mind stream. Look at a tree, a flower, a plant. Let your awareness rest upon it. How still they are. How deep-rooted in being. Allow nature to teach you stillness. When you look at a tree and perceive its stillness, you become still yourself. You connect with it at a very deep level. You feel oneness with whatever you perceive in and through stillness. Feeling the oneness of yourself with all things is true love, love with compassion. Silence is helpful, but you don't need it in order to find stillness. Even when there's noise or sounds around you, you can still be aware of the stillness underneath the noise or the sound. of the space in which the noise or sounds arise. Even if there is noise or sound, you can be aware of the stillness beneath the noise, of the space in which the noise or sounds arise. That is the inner space of pure awareness, consciousness itself. You can become aware of awareness as a background to all your sense perceptions, all your thinking and hearing. Becoming aware of awareness is the arising of inner stillness. Any disturbing noise can be helpful as silence. How? By dropping your inner resistance to the noise or sound, by allowing it to be as it is, not reacting to it. This acceptance also takes you into the realm of inner peace, that is stillness. So not reacting to the sound or the noise can make you peaceful. Whenever you deeply accept this moment as it is, no matter what forms it takes, you are still. You are at peace. Now, one aspect of wisdom is, of course, the understanding of impermanence, change. And because things are changing, things are unsatisfactory and uncertain. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for change and impermanence. Not only are things changing outside of ourselves, but things are constantly changing within ourselves, because we're a process of body and mind, mental and physical phenomena. If we were not a process, we would not be alive. But we tend to overlook this fact that we're a process because we're social creatures. And we think, we use language, I, you, he, she, and we use names. We're caught in human convention, human language. So we tend to see each other as ego personalities or selves. Because that is our social convention. But in reality, we are this process of body and mind. For example, if you're just aware of the sensation of the breath, there's the body breathing, that is a physical process. And the awareness of that physical sensation is mind. You see that there's only body and mind. Only physical and mental phenomena. In the Pali language, it's rupa and nama, rupa nama, body and mind. If you're doing the hand movements, for example, maybe you can see it more clearly, unless you're on a long retreat. The hands moving and the physical touch, that is the body, the physical, and the awareness of the hands moving and touching is mind. You see Rupa and Nama. Physical and mental. Body and mind. This is one of the direct ways of understanding non-self. To see that the I only arises when the mind says I. Because it is thinking that creates the I. Later we'll do the reflection on the body and the elements. That's what is one of the other reflections that was taught by the Buddha. So we can understand this profound truth of non-self and emptiness. Another aspect of wisdom is to realize that no one and nothing exists as a separate, independent self. Nothing and no one exists as a separate, independent self. That everything is intricately connected and interconnected, interdependent. Now, a very simple example of this is this piece of paper. Now, normally, if you don't have to use paper and you're busy running around, this is just a piece of paper. Nothing special. Just existing by itself. But when we calm our minds and we look a bit deeper, we begin to see all the factors that have caused this piece of paper to come into being. Just look deeper. Now the first thing you see is the tree, right? Do you see the tree? I think some people forgot that paper comes from trees. And I don't blame you, because we all have the smartphone. Who needs trees? Who needs paper? I'm still writing on pieces of paper. They call me dinosaur. But there's a tree. And if you see the tree, you see the soil, you see even the seed from which the tree started. And I say that because when we see large old trees, we tend to forget that that large old tree actually started as a small seedling, long time ago. And I've seen some of the largest trees on this planet. In California, it's called the sequoia trees. And some of them are between 2,000 and 3,000 years old. So you see the seed from the tree, you see the soil, you see the bacteria also, the bacteria in the soil for the tree to grow. Even earthworms, even birds and insects. And of course we see the rain. And if you see the rain, you see the clouds. Now, 2 minutes ago, if I said to you, look here, do you see clouds? You think I was crazy, right? But now, do you see clouds? That's right. And every time we drink something, it doesn't matter what it is, there are clouds. Got it? Even soy milk, even champagne. If you like to drink champagne, there are clouds. Any liquid, there are clouds. And if you see clouds, you see oceans, rivers, and lakes. And of course, you see the energy of the sun, right? That created water vapor and clouds. And if you see the sun, you see the solar system. And if you see the solar system, you see the Milky Way galaxy. So this piece of paper is a product of the Milky Way galaxy. Now, there's one factor we have not mentioned. How do you know I'm holding this piece of paper? How do you know? How do you know? Through awareness, right? Seeing consciousness. For example, say if you're fast asleep, this paper would not exist, right? You wouldn't be aware of the paper. So awareness is a factor. Actually, awareness creates the world. You know, when we wake up in the morning, that consciousness of being awake creates the world. It creates Singapore. Whereas when we're in deep sleep state, Singapore does not exist. In the deep sleep state, there is no consciousness. Very interesting. We actually die every night in deep sleep state. It's between 1 to 2 hours. For young children, it's much longer. But in that deep sleep state, there's no consciousness, no thinking, and no I. Now, because this is it didn't come directly from the tree, you know, like a leaf. This is processed, right? And because this is processed, there are also the human factor. You see the people who cut the trees down, the people who transported the logs to the factory, pulp and paper factory. We see all the people, the machinery, technology in the factory that converted the trees to pulp, wood pulp, and paper. Then you see the people who transported the paper from the factory to the urban centers. Then you see people who use the paper, the factory paper, to make many, many paper items. And there are many, right? Many paper items. So you see there are many, many people involved. And each person who was involved in the process, they exist because of so many factors. We exist, each of us exists because of many, many factors. Now consider for a moment just our direct ancestors. You know, like parents, grandparents. There are two parents, right? Most people have two parents. Then you have 4 grandparents. 8 great-grandparents. 16 great-great-grandparents. 32 great-great-great-grandparents. You know, the number doubles. 64 great-great-great-great-grandparents. 128 great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. And the next generation, older, 256. You know, great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. And it goes up, 512. And up to 10 generations, you have 1,024. Just 10 generations. And you go beyond that, 2,048. You can do the math yourself. 4,096, and then 8,192, etc., etc. And these are just our direct descendants. Now come back to your parents now, your parents' generation. Think of all your uncles and aunties and your cousins, right? Then think of your grand-aunt, aunties, grand-uncles, and your grand-cousins. And then, your grand-grand aunties, grand-grand, uncles, and grand-grand-cousins. You realize how complex the web of life is. And this is just still within your family tree. And of course, if you have children, then you have grandchildren, and so on. And then you consider all the people who have affected our lives from childhood. Think of all the medical people, doctors, nurses, and so on, who have helped us along the way. And of course, all our school teachers from elementary school, even kindergarten. You have kindergarten here, right, in Singapore? Yeah. So kindergarten, elementary school, high school, college, university, and so on. Now think of all the food you have eaten since childhood, since you're a baby. And all the people that were involved in the production, the growing, the preparation of all the food we have eaten. Countless. So it shows you how complex the web of life is. And the Buddha gave this teaching because when we're trapped in thinking and the I, and we have no awareness, no mindfulness, we're deluded by the mind, by mental activity. The I seems separate, independent. And of course, it seems permanent. It seems fixed, concrete, never changing. This is why we call it the ignorance of the mind. But in reality, nothing exists as a permanent, concrete, separate, and independent self or entity. And if we look around the room, anything, even the pen you're holding in your hand, even the cushion, even this microphone, if you investigate it, you see how all the factors that have come into existence, just for this microphone to exist. And then from this body-mind process, you go a bit deeper and you have the 5 aggregates, right? The 5 factors that create experience. And when we hear or read about the 5 factors, they seem a bit complicated. We don't see how they are related to our daily life, our daily experience. So this is why I like to give a simple example of these 5 things working. Then we have a better understanding. Because these 5 things are working all the time in daily experience, but we're not aware of them. Because they tend to happen very quickly. And before I mention this simple example, first of all, we have to understand what perception is, because sometimes it's not clear. Perception is the ability to recognize a sense object. For example, see if you're listening to the radio and you recognize a song, and sometimes you recognize the singer, the artist. That is perception at work. If you don't recognize something, you don't recognize it. But if you do recognize it, that is perception. You're not only hearing it, but you recognize it. Just like how you know this is a piece of paper. Because of past experience, memory. So in other words, perception is related to memory. And I like to give that simple example of, say, in Chinatown. If you go to San Francisco, Toronto, Vancouver, New York, you get all the fruits from this part of the world. You know, rambutan, mangis, durian. And many of the white Americans or white Canadians, when they see these fruits, they have no idea what they are. Because they have no previous experience. But if you or I go there, of course you know exactly what those fruits are. And of course, if you travel to Europe or North America, and for some reason you smell durian, you know exactly what it is. No doubt when you smell durian. That's the power of perception. And another good example, which we can all relate to, is, say, you're meeting a friend downtown somewhere, you know, a busy shopping center. And you're waiting for your friend, and you see so many faces, going and coming and going, coming and going, and you're waiting for your friend, and of course, your friend is a little late, right? And you keep looking at all these faces, waiting for your friend. But the moment you see your friend's face, right? You know that's your friend among all those faces. That's the power of perception. You recognize something from, or someone from memory, from previous experience. And consciousness is not something that is permanent, something stuck in the mind. It's something that is always changing, depending on our sense experience. For example, when you had lunch, part of consciousness was tasting and smelling. But right now, at this moment, there is no tasting or smelling, right? So what do we have in consciousness right now? Seeing, hearing, and you can feel your body sitting. Now close your eyes for a moment. There is no seeing consciousness, but there's still hearing and feeling. And if you're thinking, then there's also thinking consciousness. Now you open your eyes again and seeing consciousness arises. That's the nature of consciousness. It keeps changing. And later when you go home, this afternoon, this evening, and if you eat something in the evening, again, tasting, smelling will arise as part of consciousness. And tonight, when we all go to bed, as I mentioned before, and we fall asleep, there is no consciousness for at least 1 to 2 hours, what we call the deep sleep state. We actually die, mentally, psychologically. This is why when somebody asks this age-old question, this ancient question, to Ramana Maharshi in India. Ramana Maharshi was one of the last enlightened beings. He passed away in 1950. Very inspiring person. When he was asked this age-old question, what happens to me when I die and where do I go after death? A very ancient question. He gave this very wonderful answer. He said, tell me, when you go to bed at night and you fall asleep, where do you go? A very good answer. So you can reflect on this when you go to bed tonight. Where do I go? No consciousness, no thinking, no I. That's where you go. And if the body is still alive, the brain comes out of the deep sleep state and thinking arises again, starts up again. And that's what we call the dream state. And if you remember your dreams or you write them down before you forget, you'll see that most of our dreams are just memories all mixed up. I wonder if you've noticed that. Because thinking is related to memory. Past experience, knowledge, information. And sometimes dreams include also certain fantasies we have, certain desires. And if you're having some problem in your life, some conflict, sometimes it comes out in your dream. And sometimes we have anxious dreams, right? And anxious dreams. Very interesting. Dreams. That's what they call the unconscious. It's really just memories. And you'll notice too that if you have some important event coming up, like an appointment, very often you'll dream about it. And if you're taking a trip somewhere and you're very excited about it, very often you dream about it. About going somewhere. And sometimes you'll dream that, you're at the airport and you missed your flight. And then you wake up and you say, thank God it's a dream. Thank goodness. It's only a dream. Now, here's a simple example of these 5 things working. You're taking a walk in the bush somewhere or the park, and of course your physical form is there with all the sense organs, and you hear a sound. Hearing consciousness arises. You look towards the sound and your eyes see an object. With perception, you recognize that object as a frog or a snake. From that recognition, that perception, feeling arises, sensation. If you happen to like frogs and snakes, then naturally you experience something pleasant. You're happy to see the frog or the snake. But if you don't like frogs or snakes, the opposite, right? Ooh, aversion, fear, anxiety. From that feeling or perception comes your mental reaction, what they call mental formation. If it's a pleasant experience, then you might decide to stay and watch. Watch the frog hopping or the snake slithering, because you're not afraid. And you might even want to play with the frog or the snake. But if you don't want to touch it, you might take up a little twig and you gently play with the frog or the snake. There's no fear. Just a part of your mental reaction. But if there's aversion, fear, anxiety, of course, how you react would be different. You react to either quickly walk away or run. If you're really scared, you'll run. So that's a simple example of the 5 things working. First, there's consciousness through hearing, seeing, and so on. Then comes the perception, the recognition. Then comes the feeling or sensation, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. And then comes your mental reaction. And what the Dharma is saying is that these 5 things are working very quickly. They're impermanent. And there's no permanent I to be found in those 5 things working. No permanent I. And also what the Dharma is saying, if we cling to any of these 5 things as me or mine, there is dukkha, there is suffering. If we cling to the body as something, this is me, this is mine, there's going to be dukkha. Because the body belongs to nature, it doesn't belong to us. And it's composed of the elements. Even feeling or sensation, if we cling to it as my feeling, of course there is dukkha. The same even with perception. If we cling to perception, there is dukkha. That's why the Buddha said, when you see, just see. When you hear, just hear. Also, when you think, just think, and when you know, just know. Very challenging teaching. The wisdom of non-reaction, because you're always reacting. This is what Sister Sylvia was saying this morning about the Dharma in everyday life, learning how not to react so easily. Because it's your reaction that causes dukkha. Judging, comparing, criticizing, condemning, liking, not liking, wanting, not wanting, experiencing envy or jealousy, and of course aversion, ill will. Now the difference between envy and jealousy is interesting. envy is a form of craving, right? You want what someone has. And jealousy is resenting that person for having something that you would like to have. Whether it's something material, or maybe it could be like a job promotion. You know, say if you're in work and a co-worker gets a job promotion, you can either experience envy or you can experience jealousy. You resent that person because you would like to have a job promotion. Or you'd like to have a new car or a new house or something like anything new. So this is why the state of sympathetic joy, mudita, is such a great virtue. Because when we are not comparing ourselves, you know, when the ego, the I, is not there, then we can share in the happiness and good fortune of others. We won't be jealous, we won't be envious. We can be happy for them. It's a great virtue to have. Especially in our modern materialistic world. Because I see this in North America. People are so materialistic. Always wanting more and more, you know, shopping, shopping, shopping. Shopping has become an addiction for many people. I would like to do this reflection on the elements, because when we hear or read about the elements, they're only concepts. Maybe water we can relate to, because as you know, water is 90%. We're composed of 90%. Sorry, 70% water. But they're just concepts apart from water. So the reflection helps us to see the truth of the elements. Because without the elements, we would not exist. They're a reality. So let us start with the hair on the head. You can feel the hair. Just feel it, feel your hair. You have long hair. What element is that? I know. Shampoo element, right? Conditioning. I always find it funny. People are bringing shampoo and hair conditioning to the monastery to give monks. Just what we need. Thank you very much. Including big bags of white sugar, poison, you know. Amazing. So hair is earth element. So feel your fingernails, feel the hard quality. That's earth also, right? Earth element. And for the hair and the nails to grow, the water element is involved. The water element. And as you may know, the hair and the nails are two of the fast-growing cells in the body. So you can also feel the bones in your fingers, your hands, feel the hardness of them. And then feel the bones in your knees. They're much bigger bones there, right? Welcome to the world of bones. right? You have calcium, magnesium. Calcium, magnesium, earth element. Inside the bones, you have water, you have heat. Run your tongue over your teeth. Feel the hard quality. Again, calcium, magnesium, earth element. And inside the teeth, in the gums, you have water and heat also. And you can feel the wetness in the mouth, water. Then we go to tears. Water element, tears. And if you taste your tears, what do you taste? Salt. Or do you taste sugar? I know, Coca-Cola, right? You taste Coca-Cola. That's right. Salt is earth element. But in this case, it's not hard. Like bones and teeth and nails. It's dissolved, right? Salt is dissolved, but it's earth element. Just like sweat, perspiration. You have water element and you have salt. Then you go to urine or pee, which is part of our daily experience. You have water, salt, a few other minerals. And then if the urine is fresh, it feels warm, right? So there's heat element. And then we go to blood. You have water element, you have salt, minerals, and iron. So the earth element is very prominent in blood. Salt, minerals, iron. There's heat element there, of course, and then you have oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen. Air element. So the air element is also prominent in blood, like the earth element. And if we breathe mindfully, we can experience the air element directly, can't we? And at the same time, we can experience the element of space as the lungs expand and contract. Space is an element. And we have the heat element because we have this metabolism from the process we talked about. The physical and mental process that keeps us alive. This is why when we do exercise, activity, just like we just did some Qigong, you felt the heat element, right? Rising. But now we're cooled down, we've cooled down a bit. Now feel the back of your hand. You have water element, air, earth. There's also some heat. It feels warm. How many people here have touched a dead body? Okay. If you have touched a dead body, what you notice, it feels cold. It doesn't have that warmth. Because the heat element is the first element to leave the body. So you have earth, water, heat, and air. And you go below the skin, you have, muscles, flesh, sinew, so many parts, including internal organs. The four elements are there. Heat, water, air, earth. And now we come to the element of space. Because there's space inside the body and space outside the body. And without space, nothing could exist. And we're able to sit here because of the space in this room. There's space in the mouth cavity. When you go home, look in the mirror. Big space there. You can see, open your big mouth, you see big space. Space in the esophagus or windpipe. Space in the stomach, in the intestines. And of course, space in the lungs that we can experience directly. That's like the element of air. And there's space in the air cavity, which allows sound vibration to take place, giving rise to hearing consciousness. So without the space in the air cavity, we wouldn't experience hearing consciousness. And of course, there's space in the nostrils, which allows in-breath, out-breath to take place. And sometimes we have a fever. There's a heat element. And if it gets too high, we need medical attention. It can be dangerous. And again, we're sitting in the space of this room. And if this room was filled with boxes from floor to ceiling, we wouldn't be able to sit here. So space is very important. And when the mind is silent, quiet, we can experience spacious awareness. But if the mind is very preoccupied, there's no space in the mind. Because mental formations, thoughts, ideas, concepts, they take up all the space. And it's because of awareness that we can be aware of the space in this room. Because awareness by nature is spacious. We're very busy thinking about something, we're not aware of the space in this room. Now, from this center, say to Orchard Road, there is space. And there's even greater space between, say, this building and, say, JB, southern Malaysia. And there's even greater space, bigger space, between Singapore and, say, KL. And even vaster space between Singapore and, say, Bangkok. And even greater space between Singapore and, say, Beijing. Or Singapore and Japan, Tokyo. And there's even greater space between planet Earth and the Sun. Or planet Earth and the other planets in the solar system. And there's even vaster space between the Sun and the closest stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And there's immense space. Immense space between the Milky Way galaxy and the closest neighboring galaxies. Just the closest ones. And speaking of space, by human scale, by human size, the solar system is a very vast place. Just think of it. Very vast space by human size, human scale. And yet it is like a speck of dust inside the Milky Way galaxy. Like a speck of dust. Just to give you an idea of how vast, immense the Milky Way galaxy is. And the sun is only one star of millions just in one galaxy. And to further boggle the mind, there are countless galaxies. We can't imagine. Just the Milky Way itself. That's enough. Now, when these elements come together to form a human body, we say it is male or female. And we give it names so that we can identify each other more easily. Social labels. Because this is our social convention, social world. But if we look deeply, we investigate deeply, you see there is no permanent, concrete self, no I, that is separate and independent. There is only body-mind process, physical and mental phenomena. Only earth, water, heat, air, and space. When we look deeply, you see that there's no permanent I. There's only body-mind process, only earth, water, heat, air, and space. And then we come to the sixth element. The sixth element of consciousness. And consciousness is considered an element because without consciousness, through seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, we wouldn't be aware of life. And we wouldn't be aware of the other 5 elements. So there are 6 elements in total. Earth, water, heat, air, space, and consciousness. So this was one of the reflections that was taught by the Buddha, so that we can have a better understanding of no permanent self. Now, by social convention, we say someone dies, or someone passes away. This is our social world. But in truth, there's no self which actually dies or passes away. It's this body-mind process. It simply shuts down. It stops working. Or on the level of the five aggregates, they simply stop working. And then you go a bit deeper, you have the 32 parts of the body. And you go a bit deeper and you have the elements. And if you really want to know what continues after death, it's the elements. They return to nature. There's no I that continues. So that's just thinking. And as we said, if you touch a dead body, what you feel is just cold. Because the heat element is the first element to leave the body. Because the metabolism of this process simply shuts down. It stops working. And as you know, if you see ashes and bones from a cremation, that is obviously the earth element, right? I have a confession to make. When I first came to Singapore in 1988, I was doing development work in Sri Lanka. I wasn't a monk yet. I got a 1-week holiday to Singapore, 1988. And I went to Pokaksi, Konminchan, because, it's a popular place for tourists. Very colorful. And in 1998, Pokaksi was much smaller than it is today, much smaller. And I discovered the columbarium, the building that has all the ashes, the urns. And I was fascinated by this, and I would look at the pictures on the urns. And it's very open. And when nobody was around, I would open the lid and look inside. I was very curious. I would look at the face, then I open the lid and I look around and then I look inside. Very interesting, earth element. And I remember there was one urn, it was a very old lady, elderly lady. So when I opened the lid and looked inside, very small amount of ashes, very small. And of course you see bits of bones, right? And before I came to Singapore, this time I was in Malacca, the very old temple, Sikya Inn. And they have a columbarium there too. And the people come, the family members, they come to do offerings to the spirits, because they believe the spirits are there, right? With the ashes. Very interesting. So I was sleeping with a lot of spirits around, very close by. But I understand why people believe in spirits and ghosts, because death is this great mystery. Death is the great mystery. And we often say, where has this person gone? What happened to the energy? And because our natural mind or conditioned mind cannot relate to that, it creates the belief that that person, in quotation marks, continues, as an invisible being, as a spirit or ghost. But I can understand why families want to, offer, food, drink, candles, incense. In a way, it's a very nice way of feeling connected somehow to the departed. And during the midwinter festival, they make those little rice balls. So the spirits also needed the little rice balls too. I found that was very interesting. So all the family members brought bowls of rice balls for the spirits. And now, this great mystery called death, we can understand out of this unknown, this mystery, why humans want to believe in an afterlife. It's very comforting to believe, at least believe. We're not sure, but at least the idea that I will continue somehow after death is very comforting. Because you see, our thinking mind is incapable of understanding or relating to the unknown. This great mystery called death, the unknown. And there's a reason why. When you understand what thinking is, you see that it is based on that which we know. So it cannot relate to the unknown. Thinking is based on memory, past experience, knowledge, information. All right? When you observe your mind, you can see that. Memory, past experience, knowledge, information. And we project that in the future, or the mind projects it in the future, as I. Like plans, hopes and dreams, and so on. Things you like to achieve. So, because thinking is related to what we know, it cannot relate to the unknown, this great mystery of death. It's like a fish trying to relate to the experience of riding a bicycle. A fish cannot relate to that experience. Or a fish trying to relate to the experience of, say, driving a car or using internet. A fish can't relate to those experiences, right? So likewise, our thinking mind or consciousness, thinking consciousness, cannot relate to the unknown. So there's fear, right? Fear of the unknown. Because that's one of the fears we experience. It cannot relate to it. So what thinking does, very interesting, it projects itself beyond death and says, of course, I will continue after death. You see that? Because it is the nature of thinking to project in the future. Right? Thinking is a movement in time from past to future, past to future. Right? All our minds do this. And it doesn't matter what language we think in, it's the same thought process. Whether it's Hokkien, Cantonese, Mandarin, Japanese, Hindi, Russian, Spanish, it's the same thought process. You can observe it in your mind. So thinking projects itself beyond death. Because it's the nature to project. And he says, of course, I will continue. And that's why humans, for thousands and thousands of years, have created many beliefs in an afterlife. And reincarnation, rebirth is only one belief. There are many, many beliefs. And I mentioned this before, a traditional Chinese man is very keen to have sons, grandsons, great-grandsons, and so on. And the reason for this is because he believes that as long as the family name continues, right? Sons, grandsons, great-grandson, that I will continue somehow. It's a craving mind. You know, the I wants to continue. Where the daughters are not that interested. Because normally the daughters do not carry the family name, right? They get married, they take the name of the in-laws, the husband and the in-laws. But the son carries the family name. And that's just one belief. Of course, in India, they believe in reincarnation. And it's very comforting. Because if you speak to a Hindu, he says, I'm not afraid of death. He says, it's like taking off an old jacket and you put on a new jacket. The idea of, reincarnating in a new body. There's so many beliefs. There's like the native North American Indians, the Red Indians, they have this beautiful belief that I will go to the great hunting ground in the sky. Because for them, hunting the wild buffalo was one of their special events. Hunting the wild buffalo. And some old movie stars, the ones that I grew up with, they used to say that I will die, but I will continue in my movies. It's a very comforting thought, isn't it? Or I will continue in my television shows. And now, of course, I will continue in my YouTube videos. But who knows, in future YouTube might be obsolete. I'm told that, the credit card is going to be obsolete sooner or later. And I don't even have one. Not because I'm a monk, because many monks have credit cards. Many monks have smartphones. I'm just too lazy to get one. But what is interesting is that when we look at all these beliefs in an afterlife, something becomes very clear. You see that it is thinking itself, this movement in time. It is afraid to come to an end. Thinking itself as the I is afraid to come to an end. Hence the fear of death. Because the I has so many attachments, right? And death means the ending of all our attachments, everything. So naturally the I wants to continue with all its attachments, including the smartphone and high-speed internet. Somebody once said to me, his idea of heaven is a place where you have high-speed internet 24/7. And it's absolutely free. You don't have to pay. Just like I have a friend, he's crazy about golf, and he travels all over North America just to play golf. And he says, I hope heaven is a place where I can play golf. Free membership. And I can play every day. Free membership. So it is thinking itself, this movement in time, is afraid to come to an end. That's why we want to believe that we continue somehow. Now, what is very interesting, in Dharma practice, when we allow the mind, when we allow thinking, the mind to become more quiet, we keep letting go. And when we allow the mind itself, the thinking, to stop by itself, because as you know, you cannot force thinking to stop by itself. Or you cannot force the mind to stop. You have to allow it to stop by itself through practice. Then in that silence of meditation is the unknown. When we allow thinking to stop by itself, in that silence, that stillness is the unknown. Because thinking is always based on that which we know. Right? Memory, experience, knowledge, information. Which we usually project in the future as I. So in meditation, when we allow all that mental activity to stop, to be quiet, there is the unknown. Silence. Silence is the unknown. And when we understand this and we experience it, there is no longer the fear of the unknown. Because we experience it directly, personally, as something very, very peaceful. And it is timeless. Absolutely timeless. It's a timeless dimension of the universe. Because the universe is timeless. But humans are conditioned by time because of thinking as past and future. But awareness is always now, always present. And eternity is not millions and zillions of years in the future. I used to believe that. I was fascinated by eternity. But when the mind becomes absolutely silent, one realizes that eternity is now. It's not zillions of years in the future. It is now, the timeless state. And we can experience this. And so that age-old question, what happens to me when I die, or where do I go after death, it does not arise. That age-old question, what happens to me when I die, or where do I go after death, it does not arise. It only arises because we are trapped in thinking. And we are attached to this I. Because this I, we think, is who we are. But it is not. It is just thinking. It's just a social label that we use to communicate. I, you, he, she, and so on. But because we're using the same I, the same social label, and we're using, we're always saying I. It gives the impression in consciousness that this I is rock solid. And it is everlasting. It is always here. But it's just an illusion in the mind. It just gives that impression. I. It is always there, or it seems to be. But again, this is where the practice comes in. You begin to see the I is only a social label. And this is something the Buddha realized when he became awakened. He realized he was not all those thoughts, mental formation. He was not this I, the conditioning of I, as past and future. Who he was the awareness, present awareness, the knowing, intuitive knowing. And that's why we call it the Buddha mind. We all have the Buddha nature, or the wisdom mind. And the more we practice, we have more trust. We have more trust in this awareness. So it means that when we need to think, we think logically, rationally, and when we don't need to think, the mind becomes quiet. You come back to this present moment awareness, knowing. You can call it the unconditioned state of mind. In Zen, they call it beginner's mind. Your thinking is all conditioning, and the I is conditioning. Now here's something, we have a few more minutes. We go back to atoms. As you know, each day we take in new atoms and we expel atoms, right? Now the atoms that are in our bodies at this very moment, they have been recycled. They have been recycled many, many, many times in other life forms, including plants, mineral, of course, water. Yes, we are composed of recycled atoms. And there are some atoms in our bodies that were once in the bodies of dinosaurs, millions of years ago. And some of the atoms in our bodies were once in the sky. As water vapor, in clouds, of course, rain. And a lot of the atoms, because they're in the sky, they've traveled around the planet many times. You know, they get around. And as I mentioned yesterday, it's very possible that there's one atom that is in our body at this moment that was once in the body of someone very famous or very well known long time ago. It's very possible that is one atom in our bodies at this moment that was once in the body of someone famous or well known long time ago. Take, for example, Genghis Khan. You know Genghis Khan of the Mongols. Or think of Julius Caesar that existed, during the Roman Empire. Very possible. Or even the body of Jesus Christ. And even the body of the Buddha. Think of it. One atom, it's very possible that one atom in our body was once in the body of the Buddha. But it doesn't mean that we're enlightened. It's just the nature of atoms. They get around. Cosmic energy. And you may remember the first law of science that we learned in high school about energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change its form, and it can move from one place to another. You remember that? If you don't remember, it means that you didn't have good high school teachers. That's right. Energy, which is atoms, cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change its form, and it can move from one place to another. So on that deep level of reflection of atoms and energy, cosmic energy, one is able to go beyond the idea of birth and death. One is able to go beyond the idea of birth and death. I'll just do a reading here by Thich Nhat Hanh. You know Thich Nhat Hanh. The Buddha saw that births and deaths were but outward appearances and not true reality. The Buddha saw that births and deaths were but outward appearances and not true reality. Just as millions of waves rise and fall incessantly on the surface of the ocean, while the ocean itself is beyond birth and death. If the waves understood that they themselves were water, that they're not separate from the ocean, they would transcend birth and death and arrive at true inner peace, overcoming all fear and anxiety. This realization enables Siddhartha Gautama to transcend the net of birth and death. When we learn to calm our minds in order to look deeply at the true nature of things, we can arrive at full understanding which dissolves every sorrow and anxiety and gives rise to acceptance and love, loving kindness and compassion. Without understanding, there can be no love. Each person's disposition is a result of physical, emotional, and social conditions. Understanding is the key to liberation. In order to attain clear understanding, it is necessary to live mindfully, making direct contact with life in the present moment, truly seeing what is taking place within and without of oneself. Practicing mindfulness strengthens the ability to look deeply and reflect on the nature of things. Again, we mention because we are trapped in thinking and this idea of a separate I. And that's why we keep asking that ancient question. What happens to me when I die? Where do I go after that? But when we think of process, body, mind, process, the 5 aggregates, atoms, cosmic energy, we have a different understanding, different perspective. Now, one of the reasons why we have this this illusion of separation and duality has to do with language. Language is very misleading. For example, we tend to say, I came into this world, or we came into the world. Now look at that statement a little closer. I came into this world. we came into this world. Just look at it. I came into this world, we came into this world. It gives the impression that we came from somewhere else. Do you see that? We, I is separate. We came from somewhere else, some other solar system, and we landed here on this planet, and we are aliens, outsiders, or tourists. You can say tourists. It's the illusion of separation that language creates. I came into the world, we came into the world. But in truth, we didn't come into the world as outsiders, aliens, but rather we came out of the world. We came out of the world like leaves from trees, like flowers, fruits from trees, or like waves from the surface of the ocean. We came out of the planet, from the elements and the energy. You see the difference? So we are truly earthlings. The true meaning of that word, earthlings. We came out of the earth. Just like seedlings, seedlings, they sprout from the seed. Just like all other life forms. Even irritating mosquitoes. Aspects of the planet. Everything. So in other words, there's nowhere to go. When you say, where do I go? So we are actually aspects of the planet or the solar system in this temporary physical form, being aware of itself. We are aspects of the planet in this temporary physical form, being aware of itself. And on a more cosmic scale, we're aspects of the universe in this temporary physical form, being aware of itself. So this reflection is also connected to that deep insight into non-self and emptiness. And how life is intricately connected, intricately interdependent. This very complex web of life. So may I be well, peaceful, and happy. May my family be well, peaceful, and happy. May my friends be well, peaceful, and happy. May my co-workers be well, peaceful, and happy. May my teachers be well, peaceful, and happy. May my neighbors be well, peaceful, and happy. May all beings be well, peaceful, and happy. Gatte gatte parasam gatte bodhisva. 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 Gatte gatte parasam gatte bodhisva.